Recording in progress.
So earlier this week, I posted, or maybe this weekend, I posted on Twitter that NFP/abstinence puts your marriage in survival mode. And that for those of us that use, certainly those of us that use the Marquette method, or maybe those of us that are older, that generally means over half the month is spent abstaining and under sort of my proposition in survival mode. Well, if you just do simple math, you quickly become depleted. You're taking more from your relationship than you're giving back. And there was a lot of agreement to that post, and it generated a lot of comments. But of course, there's a couple of people that took offense to that, and one guy in particular took issue with the way I phrased it as, am I really saying my marriage is in a survival mode simply because I can't have sex with my wife? And I guess in a technical sense, no. And in social media dramatic fashion, that probably isn't exactly the best way to put it. But here's how I would put it in very honest and accurate terms. As you get married longer, and as your family grows, I'm the father of 9 children now, 7 of which are still at home, 2 that are out and less dependent on me than the others. But my role as a father and a husband and provider from my family only becomes more difficult with time. The demands become higher. The money I need to earn to support this family grows. The amount of time I take that because much shorter supply and a great competition, and you just get tired. And what I have found is when intimacy is on a semi-regular basis, my tank is filled up. My love tank is filled up. The day after, in a particular way, Joan and I often refer to this as the bliss period. I'm certain that in the day after we've been intimate, I'm operating at my highest capacity as a man, as a father, as a worker, as a husband. And that's when I'm at my best. That's when I have my highest potential, my highest capacity to be the best husband, the best father, best employer, worker, all that kind of stuff. As the days go on, that slowly becomes depleted, and the capacity that I have each day for all of those things, which make high demands on my time and attention, shrinks. And also the amount of time and energy, mental energy, that I have to spend controlling the flesh, so to speak, increases. So the overall capacity I have decreases, and the amount of time and energy I spend to staying chaste is more. And the day after, I don't think about it at all. The flesh is not a bother to me. I'm operating at peak capacity, and I am able to do my greatest work and provide the maximum amount of myself to my wife, to my children, to our home, to my job, all of that. And as time goes on, as abstinence grows, my capacity shrinks, and the energy that I have to give to controlling the body increases, and that all that means is there's less of my best stuff left to go around to my wife and children and work. That's just the reality of it. And unfortunately, in a household of 9 children and a wife who depends on me, I can't operate at a fraction of my full capacity very much or very long until it has very real consequences for us. And so I think too many people think that sex and the desire for sex is purely about the pleasure and experience itself, which, don't get me wrong, is great. But it's only a small part of it. And in fact, I would say it's the smallest part of why we want it, why we crave it, because the main benefit to it is it fills us up. It empowers us. It puts us at our peak personhood, whoever we are. And I want as much of me as is available to be the very best dad, the very best husband, the very best citizen, the very best employer, all of that. It would be like running a 5K race or a marathon on a day that I'm fasting. Could I do it? Sure. Am I going to do it anywhere near my potential if I'm properly rested, properly fed and all that? Of course not. So it's time that we stop looking at whether it's technically possible to run the race, but look at what you are giving up. Look at what you must sacrifice because of your depletion. And that's why I emphasize intimacy so much, because my family needs the fullest, most complete, highest performing version of myself. And no amount of abstinence and penance and prayer is going to achieve that. It just isn't. And so that's where I think marriages really become strained. Family life starts to break down, where one or both of the spouses, especially the father, finds himself constantly drained by the abstinence, constantly operating under, as an incomplete version of himself, becomes more irritable, impatient. And that's where men tend to fall into one of the various vices. Maybe they're looking for a quick relief or dopamine hit by hopping on the computer or whatever. I'm not saying it's right, but that's how and why it happens. And yes, there's going to be times when you have to abstain and you have to deny yourself. No one's saying you shouldn't. But it's one thing to say that there are periods or seasons of your life when you have to do that. And another thing to say it is baked into the fabric of who you are. We fast and abstain on Ash Wednesday and Good Friday. Imagine if we fasted and abstained over half the days of the year. Think about that. Would any of us die? Probably not. Would any of us really be operating at our full potential? Probably not. Almost certainly not. Individuals, families, society would be harmed, damaged if we applied that. And it's really no different when it comes to this component of our lives. That's why I emphasize intimacy so much. That's why I talk about the price of abstinence, the price of NFP, the price of moral barriers to couples finding time for intimacy, even if it means being creative when it comes to how they're sexually intimate. Because for most couples, and I dare say all couples, some intimacy is better than no intimacy. And I challenge anyone to credibly establish otherwise. So that's what I meant by that. I don't think it's much of an exaggeration to say that your marriage goes into survival mode if you are abstaining from intimacy above and beyond what you would normally do. Most of us, even if we are not having to abstain, are not trying to do it every day. As a as a husband and wife with children, that's nearly impossible. But would you do it every 3 or 4 days if you had the chance? I think most of us would. And I think every man I know, for the most part, could operate just fine under that type of schedule. But when you start talking about 2 weeks or more every single month, it drains you, it wears you down, and it harms the marriage. There's really no other way of putting it. So I wanted to throw that out there. I hope that helps clarify what I meant, and certainly welcome comments if people have them, but want to share that with you guys. As always, I appreciate you listening, and until next time, everyone, have a good one.